575 Maranello is everything you could want in an Italian sports car, from the luxurious leather interior to the massive amounts of horsepower under the hood. Plus, it can be bought for a very reasonable price. A car like this one can be bought for just over $100,000. It's your stunning color combination of red over tan, which is very desirable. Plus, it just had a full cam belt service, meaning it's turnkey, ready to go, and needs nothing. Now, the 575s are the continuation of the 550s, and the 575 M Maranello, where the M stands for modificato or modified, and they are modified to be more aerodynamic and have slightly more horsepower, better suspension, and overall improvements over the 550 Maranellos. Now, these cars, from my driving experience, they are very comparable, but the improvements, although slight, make a big difference in overall handling and just enjoyability and ease of driving. Before we take this car out for a drive, let's talk about what really matters here, the engine. This car has a 5.7 liter V12 engine that produces 515 horsepower. The car weighs a total of about 3,800 pounds and has a 6-speed automatic transmission, so it has lots of power, it's fairly lightweight, and it's just a great touring car. Don't take my word for it though, let's go out for a drive and see how it really handles. These guys are not here for me. Just gotta get that out of the way. I'm not breaking the law. But it's always interesting to drive these different cars because we just drove a 575, a different 575 last week, and it has a completely different personality than this car. This car, I mean, it's very different. It has a Fiorano handling package, which means the suspension is stiffer. It has a different ECU for the steering, making it much more responsive and tight. It has bigger brakes. And it has just a couple options that make it a lot more made for the racetrack. I mean, it's named after Ferrari's private racetrack, Fiorano, so you would hope that it is built for racing. And one of the things about this car that personally I like a little more than the other 575 is the fact that when you are driving the stiffer suspension, it doesn't kind of go when you hit the accelerator, and every time it shifts, it's stiffer. So it goes a little faster, and it doesn't have the same kind of body lurching that the other car has. Style-wise, this car has a lot of things different than the other car. Especially, it feels so different to drive it because the seats are sport seats. So it's not the normal Ferrari seats you're used to. They're race style. They're more bucketed where you're kind of wrapped around and kind of hugged by the car. It also has a lot of features such as the carbon fiber everywhere. The dash, the steering wheel, the paddle shifts, center console, door panels, everything has carbon fiber all over it, which is one of those things that it's a touch I like. Some people aren't into the carbon fiber look. They like the more classic look. I personally like the futuristic kind of race feel of carbon fiber. It seems, because of the stiffer suspension, it seems less lurchy. It's the same transmission as the other 575, but it stiffens up the car in a way where it's more smooth, which is something that you notice a bit at low speeds, but it's when you get into higher speeds, if you do a track day where you pay to drive on a track, you're really going to notice the difference. That's where it really makes all the difference in the world. One of the big common problems with these cars, not just 550, 575s, but going back to like 328s and still continuing all the way to new cars today, is sticky switches. The Ferrari coats all their switches and bits of plastic, even around the air vents and everywhere, the door handles, with this substance that when it sits in the sun for a little bit, it gets sticky. And it is the worst thing in the world because you get it on your hands and then you get it on your clothes or the interior leather in the car, and it's horrible. I have like a thing against sticky switches because I've gotten it on the interior of my car before and it's still there. It will not come out. This car, the sticky switch problem, which is a problem in all those cars, it just depends whether it's happened and been corrected yet or not. This car, the problem has been corrected. There's no residue anywhere, and all the switches have been redone to where they're nice and never gonna have that issue again, which is something that I don't understand why Ferrari doesn't fix the problem. But they're Ferrari, they get away with it, and they continue to produce it in new cars even to this day. That's a wrap on the 575. Coming up next, we have this Model A, which I can't wait to tell you more about. It's a little different than the cars we normally have, but it's a thrill to drive, and I can't wait to show it to you.